I didn't know much about living in the wilderness when I bought a house with my best friend, but it was a really good deal that we just couldn't pass. My friend Julie and I were going to school about half an hour away, and buying a house for the next 4 years actually turned out to be cheaper than the rent we would have paid. Plus, this meant no landlords, and we could do whatever we want with the place. The house was technically considered off-grid since it wasn't connected to our city's power grid, which of course helped us with the price. Thankfully, the previous owners agreed to sell us their solar panels as part of the overall price, which was actually super lucky. The house was also on septic and we had a well, so even though it was off-grid, we still had all the luxuries of living in a house in a city. Julie and I both had pretty well-paying jobs, and I'm not ashamed to say that we both come from families who helped us with mortgage from time to time. Anyways, the number one rule that I made with Julie when we agreed to buy this house together was that we wouldn't give our address to anyone but family. No friends, no boyfriends, and especially no random guys. We were in the middle of nowhere, and I didn't want to risk the wrong person knowing that two 20-year-old women were living 30 minutes outside of town, miles away from the next house. It just didn't seem smart to me. Julie always said that she is fine with the rule, and for the first year we lived together, she respected it. At least, I think she did. Then one day in our second year of being housemates, I came home to her making out with some random guy on the sofa in the living room. I was livid. I screamed at the guy to get out, which of course made Julie mad. But I really didn't care. I had boundaries, and my reason for not wanting men over the house seemed pretty fair. After he left, she yelled at me that I was being stupid and having a guy over from time to time wasn't going to do us any harm. I tried telling her that it just wasn't smart, letting people we don't know into our house and let it be known that we live alone with basically no means of protecting ourselves. But she still didn't get it. She just kept saying it wasn't the movie Taken, and the guy isn't going to come back and kidnap us and sell us and come down, live a little. Making fun of the situation made me feel I made a huge mistake buying a house with a person I thought I knew so well. She's my best friend of 4 years, and I never got the impression that she would be so careless. I called my mom that night and told her what happened. She agreed with me that it was dumb of Julie inviting a guy over that she didn't even know. I also told her that it made me uncomfortable staying there, knowing that a guy knew where we lived, who we were, and that we lived alone. I mean, it was obvious no guy lived with us. Every picture in the place was just the two of us, and I'm pretty sure Julie probably told him that she had only one roommate. And it wouldn't be a shocker if she did. She brought him back to the house after all. So telling him about her life wouldn't be a big deal. My mom told me that if I was uncomfortable, I could just stay with her for a few nights. And if I wanted to go back after, I could. And if not, I could stay however long I needed. I appreciated the offer and decided to go to school the next day, go home, pack some things, then head off to my mom's for a bit. Julie thought that I was being dramatic, but I didn't really care. I went to school the next day as planned and made my way back home that afternoon. I decided to wait until Julie's home to let her know how long I'd be gone. And just to make sure that she locked up, clearly she wasn't the most responsible person, so I couldn't rely on her to secure the place after all. At around 8 p.m., I decided that I was done waiting and began making my way to the front door with my bag in hand. When I reached the hall that led to the living room, I stopped in my tracks. Thankfully, the darkness that filled the house hid me. As I watched, two men in black standing at the door behind the frosted glass. They were talking to each other when I heard one of them saying, "I'm telling you, man, the girls who live there, they're all types of fine. My heart sank. I didn't know what to do. I just had to hide. I guess now I realize that I probably should have slipped out the back door, but I wasn't really thinking. Instead, I slowly walked back to my room, shut and locked the door, and started trying to find a place to hide. I watched a movie the previous night that gave me the idea of opening my window to make it look as I've gone away. So I did that, and then I climbed into the back of my closet and hid under a couple of comforters that I've shoved after the last winter. I heard the glass shattering, and I knew it was from the front door. I felt tears beginning to stripe down my face. That wasn't gonna be one of those girls you see in movie and TV shows who can't keep quiet though. I was barely breathing, so I wouldn't make a sound. I listened as they made their way through the house, loudly arguing with each other that they hadn't found us yet. I put my phone on silent so it wouldn't give up my hiding spot if it were to go off. And I texted Julie not to come home, that people had broken into our house and call 911 immediately. I also texted my mom and told her what was happening and for her to call 911 too. And of course, they both started blowing up my phone. But when I heard the men try to turn my bedroom's door handle, I couldn't focus on anything but staying hidden and staying quiet. She's gotta be in here. A car is parked outside. I'm gonna be so pissed if she's not. We hadn't break into this house for nothing. They argued back and forth like that for a couple of minutes until one of them must have gotten tired of it and kicked the door. I was relieved when the window trick seemed to work and they screamed at each other that I got away. The relief only lasted 1 minute though. One of them told the other to look around for anything that they could take that might be worth something. I started praying that they wouldn't look too far into my closet and they wouldn't pull back the comforters that I was under and then do what men do to women. They broke into their houses. I heard one of the men leave the room, but I could tell that one of them had stayed. I heard him begin to go through my drawers and throw things across the room. He seemed frustrated, which was probably due to the fact that I don't own super nice things, no expensive jewelry, nothing designer. I could never justify spending that kind of money. And clearly, this guy didn't appreciate that. My breath stopped in my throat when I heard his footstep get closer and closer to the closet door. I didn't move an inch. There was no way that I was going to give this guy any reason to believe that I was in there. I felt like I was going to have a heart attack when he opened the closet door. I could feel the vibrations of him moving things around off the shelves overhead. And just when I felt him grab a hold of the blankets that I'm under, his friend burst in the room yelling that they had to go. Apparently, they heard the sirens down the road and got scared. They ran out of the house and I stayed in my spot. I had every intention of staying there all night. I was terrified of the possibility that they were still there. And that was until I heard my mom's voice calling for me from inside the house. I pulled the comforters off of my body and as quickly as I could, I ran towards my mom's voice. The second I saw her, I burst into tears. All the emotions I held in the whole time was being let out. I couldn't control it. I wish I could tell you that they found the men who broke in, but they didn't. They left behind no evidence, and the police didn't find anyone in the woods surrounding the house. The guy Julie brought over the previous night had a solid alibi, so they ruled him out. He also denied telling anyone where we live, but I don't buy it. I moved out the next day. It took a while, but Julie eventually agreed to take my name off the mortgage. One of our other friends moved in with her, and I moved back with my parents. I feel safer with them. I just wish they had caught the guys who terrorized me that night.